On News Prime tonight, President Tinubu appoints new Comptroller General for Correctional Service. In business, the Nigerian Electoral Regulatory Commission adopts new tariff tool for mini-grid regulation. On the foreign scene, France Macron names Francisco Barral as Prime Minister. In sports, Nigeria and 6 others get first-round pass for 2026 WAFCON qualifiers. Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to News Prime on Global Television. Coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Jumai Manson. Now, a quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and free to air on Nicomsat. Now the news in full. President Bola Tinubu has approved the appointment of Owakuche Sylvester Ndidi as Acting Comptroller General of the Nigerian Correctional Service, following the retirement of Haliru Mbaba as service. Haliru Mbaba served as Comptroller General for 3 years and 7 months. He was appointed as Comptroller General by former President Muhammadu Buhari, and his tenure will end on 15th of December. Owakuche, born on 26 November 1966, hails from Oguta in Imo State. Until his appointment, he was the Deputy Comptroller General in charge of Training and Staff Development Directorate. The Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TETFund, says its attention has been drawn to insinuations, particularly across social media platforms, that All Progressive Congress APC received funding of 325 million naira between October 2023 and October 2024 from the fund. TETFund Director of Public Affairs Abdulmumin Oluyongi, in a press release, stated that a letter allegedly written by a certain woman leader of the Adamawa State chapter of the APC, Patricia Yakubu, to the National Security Advisor is not only ridiculous and totally false, but also a great disservice to the nation. That an individual of such political standing would engage in frivolity bereft of any evidence. The Tertiary Education Trust Fund therefore urged detractors to get their facts right and avoid misleading members of the public, reassuring that it has undertaken its mandate over years with renewed vigor under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Lagos State Special Offences Court in Ikeja has set January 7, 2025 to decide on the objection raised by former Central Bank of Nigeria Governor Godwin Emefiele regarding the $4.5 billion and $2.8 billion naira fraud charges brought against him by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Emefiele, along with his co-defendant Henry Omoele, is facing 26 counts filed by the EFCC before Justice Rahman Oshodi. Emefiele's lawyer, Olalekan Ojo-San, argued that the court lacks territorial jurisdiction to hear the case in Lagos. He contended that the alleged offences, including abuse of office, were committed outside the jurisdiction of Ikeja Special Offences Court. The Attorney General of Lagos State and Commissioner of Justice Lawal Pedro San says the Human Organ and Tissue Transplantation Bill has been signed into law to prohibit illegal organ harvesting. Pedro disclosed this at the Ministry of Justice in Alausa, Ikeja, while briefing newsmen on the significance of the new law and other 4 new laws. According to him, the state governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, signed the new law to show commitment to the welfare, security, and prosperity of every Lagosian. The Senate has directed the Federal Capital Territory Minister, Nyesom Wike, to immediately halt all ongoing property demolitions in Ikeja. In Abuja. This resolution followed concerns over alleged irregularities and hardship caused by the demolitions. In addition, the Senate summoned the minister to appear before the ad hoc committee formed to investigate the demolition activities. The committee, chaired by Deputy Senate President Senator Jibrin Barau, has been given 2 weeks to submit its findings. In order to alleviate the suffering of flood victims across the country, the federal government, through the Ministry of Regional Development, has handed over palliatives to Imo State government to support victims of flood and other vulnerable groups. The presentation in Owerri was led by the Minister of Regional Development, Abubakar Momo, with the Governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodinma, receiving the items. Our correspondent, Amarachi Ibe, has the rest of the story.
Presenting the palliative to Governor Uzodinma, the Minister of Regional Development explained that The intervention is targeted at alleviating the plight of flood victims and the less privileged in the state.
I welcome you to this symbolic presentation of palliative items to the people of Imo State. I made a presentation to the President and he graciously approved that palliative items ranging from rice, beans, mosquito nets, and what have you. The answer here today is to symbolically present this item to the people who are, of course, were affected and those who are also in need.
Governor Zarima, in his response, commended the federal government for the timely support and pledged that the palliative would be distributed to the intended beneficiaries.
So we received this with warm hearts, while thanking you for being able to do this and also charging the committee, because the idea is that this thing has a target. The work of the committee is to ensure that this gets to the people who are affected by the flood. And if it is done and done well, the donors will be happy. Those who receive these materials will also be happy.
The high point of the event was the symbolic presentation of relief items to some beneficiaries. The federal government's gesture highlights its commitment to supporting states in crisis and ensuring aid reaches the most vulnerable. From Owerri, Amarachi Ibe, reporting for Global TV News.
Thank you, Amarachi, for that report. Over now to the Defense Headquarters says that troops and operations across the country killed 181 terrorists in the past week, noting that troops arrested 203 criminals, including notorious gun runner Mohammed Musa in Plateau State. The Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba, announced this in a statement stating that troops recovered 228 weapons and 6,749 ammunition during several operations within the week. The European Union has called on the federal government to prioritize the rights and protection of Nigerian children from all forms of discrimination and intimidation. Speaking at the International Human Rights Day with the theme, Our Rights, Our Future, Right Now, Advancing Rights and Protection for Children in Nigeria, EU officials highlighted the importance of protecting children. EU Ambassador designate to Nigerian ECOWAS, Guttar Megnot, emphasized the need for states to move beyond merely adopting the Child Rights Act and focus on its effective implementation. The immediate past governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, has pleaded not guilty to the 18 counts charge brought against him by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. The charges bordered on money laundering, breach of trust, and misappropriation of public funds to the tune of about 80.2 billion naira. After the charge was read to him, Bello responded that he was not guilty of all 18 counts. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, says it plans to seek an amendment to the Electoral Act 2022 to clarify issues surrounding result management, particularly the manual transfer and electronic transmission of election results. The Commission's chairman, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, disclosed this during a meeting with resident electoral commissioners in Abuja. He said that the proposal is one of 8 legislative charges arising from the 2023 general elections that required National Assembly action. Adamawa State House of Assembly has denied claims that its newly passed law for the creation of additional chiefdoms is designed to remove the Lamido of Adamawa as chairman of the State Traditional Council. Addressing journalists, Chairman of the House Committee on Information, Musa Mahmood, represented Mayor Balwa constituency, dismissed the allegations as baseless and rooted in ignorance of law's provisions. Mahmood pointed out that the new item introduced in the bill was the creation of zonal traditional councils, the North Central, the Southern Traditional Councils. Stakeholders in road safety has rallied support for the formation of a special armed squad for the Federal Road Safety Corps. It was reported that the stakeholders made their position known when they appeared before the House of Representatives public hearing on a bill seeking to amend some sections of the FRSC Act 2007 in Abuja. They called for a speedy passage of the bill without recourse to sentiment, adding that it was long overdue. The Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohamed Partey, says the federal government is in the process of procuring essential medicines to ensure quality, availability, and affordability of drugs in public facilities. Partey made the statement in Abuja at an event held in commemoration of the Universal Health Coverage Day. He noted that the 3-year presidential initiative for unlocking the healthcare value chain was unveiled a year ago to save lives, reduce physical and financial pain, and produce health for all Nigerians. Over now to the UN Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, says for the second consecutive year, conflict zones have proven dangerous for journalists and media workers, with 2024 seeing it at least 68 deaths in the line of duty. More than 60% of these killings occurred in countries experiencing conflict. The highest percentage is over a decade, according to UNESCO new data. The report highlights that 42 journalists were killed in conflict zones this year, including 18 in Palestine, which recorded the highest toll. The Sokoto State Police Command has arrested 2 individuals, including a dismissed Army officer, Austin Anthony, for alleged car theft. During a press briefing, the command spokesman, ASP Mohammed Rufai, says Anthony, previously dismissed for losing custody of a Boko Haram detainee, was paraded alongside his accomplice, Masur. Anthony reportedly used military uniform and a fake rank of major to evade arrest. Rufai said the suspect admitted to being involved in car theft since his dismissal, had previously been arraigned for a similar offense in August 2024. The Nigerian Navy Oguta Naval Base has pledged tight security for the people of Ezeosu community in Oguta local government area of Imo State during the upcoming Yuletide season. Now, this assurance was given during a free medical outreach organized by the Navy. In line with the Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Emmanuel Ogala's ambition to promote the health and well-being of residents. Correspondent Amarachi Ibe was there for Global TV. Her report.
In his address during the free medical checkup, the commanding officer of the Oguta Naval Base, Commando M.B. Sanusi, represented by the executive officer of the Oguta Naval Base, Commander Okeme Anthony, assured residents of the Navy's readiness to safeguard lives and property during the festive season.
This was aimed at fostering a better civil-military relations. Naval Base Oguta is really impressed with the turnout. We had over 300 persons for this medical outreach. But we assure the good people of Ezeosu community that they will be safe. The Naval Base Oguta would ensure constant presence around here to make the season very enjoyable and peaceful and secured for them all.
The Navy's free medical outreach exercise provides a range of services, including blood pressure and blood sugar checks, consultations, distributions of essential medications, and insecticide-treated nets. Many beneficiaries expressed gratitude.
I am very happy for the arrival of the mobiles for general treatment for our children and for the old.
I am very much excited because this is the first of its kind. Since 50 years ago or thereabouts, I've been in this community. I've never seen this kind of gesture.
Students from Ezeosu Community School also benefited from the outreach, receiving sanitary pads, body spray and writing materials to support their hygiene and education.
The free medical checkup, everything that they have done, I pray that the Lord Almighty will replenish all the finances which they have used in coordinating this program. I pray that the Lord will replenish.
By the Navy in our community, it's a free giving day of medications and other gifts for students. I'm very much happy to receive a gift from them, and here is my gift. I appreciate our efforts so much.
As the Yuletide season approaches, the Nigerian Navy's proactive efforts in Ezeosu and its environs highlights their commitment to ensuring a safe, healthy, and joyful celebration for all. From Owerri, Amarachi Ibe, reporting for Global TV News.
You're watching News Prime on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. When News Prime returns, Nigeria and 6 others gets first round pass for 2026 WAFCON qualifiers. Details of this as well as foreign and sports stories coming right after the break. Please stay with us. You're welcome back, and if you're just tuning in, this is News Prime on Global Television. Thank you for staying with us. In business now, power generation rose to a high of 3,624.34 megawatts following the restoration of the national grid by the engineers of the Transmission Company of Nigeria after the grid collapsed the preceding day. It also gathered that the federal government had to intervene in tackling gas supply to generation companies after supplies of the product reportedly halted gas supply to Genscos due to debt of about 2.7 trillion naira. It was also reported that the wholesale gas producing companies had abruptly stopped the supply of natural gas to power generation companies for electricity production over the non-payment of debt accrued from the previous supplies. A board of the World Bank Group is expected to meet and decide on approving a $500 million loan to Nigeria today, Friday, to boost rural asset and agricultural marketing to the country. According to information obtained from the Washington-based institution, the loan is for rural assets and agricultural marketing project Scale Up. It is designed to bridge the gap between rural communities and the border marketplace, facilitating smoother access to agricultural markets, schools and hospitals, and promoting social cohesion among rural population. The Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission has announced its formal adoption of African Forum for Utility Regulators mini-grid tariff tool to ensure fair and efficient pricing. In a statement the Commission issued on its official X page, it was noted that the tool was developed through a collaboration between the Commission and the AFUR, as well as other key stakeholders in the energy sector. The AFUR mini-grid tariff tool supports the implementation of the amended mini-grid regulations 2023 and will enhance the process of determining cost-reflective tariff for mini-grid projects. The federal government has warned developers in Lagos shoreline to regularize their project or face revocation and possible demolition. This was disclosed in a statement by the Director of Press and Public Relations at the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development, Salisu Haiba. The ultimatum was delivered by the Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Ahmed Dangiwa, following his inspection of the Lagos Lagoon Estate and other shoreline fronts. On the foreign scene now, a fire at the private hospital in southern India killed at least 6 people, with more than 24 others injured in the blaze. Building fires are common in India due to lack of firefighting equipment and a routine disregard for the safety regulations. All 6 victims were found unconscious inside a lift at the hospital in the city of Dindigul. President-elect Donald Trump sat with world leaders in Paris last weekend to marvel at the restored Notre Dame Cathedral. Armed Islamist fighters in Syria were in jeeps on the road to Damascus, finalizing the fall of the Assad regime. In this split-screen moment of global news, the U.S. president-elect seated between the French first couple still had an eye on the stunning turn of events in the Middle East. He posted the same day on his Truth social network, "Syria is a mess, but it is not our friend." A Chinese businessman described as a close confidant of the Duke of York has lost an appeal against a decision to bar him from the UK on national security grounds. The man, known as only as H6, brought the case after being banned from entering the country in March 2023. Judges heard the businessman had formed a close working relationship with Prince Andrew, receiving an invite to his birthday party in 2020, and being told he could act on his behalf when dealing with potential investors in China. The presidents of Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo will meet Sunday in Angola for a fresh round of talks aimed at ending the conflict in the DRC's troubled east. Since its re-emergence in 2021, the Kigali-backed M23 militia, which claims to defend ethnic Tutsi, has seized Soweto's DRC territory, displacing thousands, triggering a humanitarian crisis in August. Angola meditated on fragile truce that stabilized the situation at the front line, but both sides continue to exchange fire and clashes have intensified since late October. President Emmanuel Macron named centric leader François Bayrou Prime Minister, handing him the daunting task of hailing France out of months of political crisis. Bayrou, the 73-year-old head of DINDEP group, which is allied to Macron's party, was appointed 9 days after Michel Barnier's government was ousted by Parliament. In a historic non-confidence vote following a standoff over an austerity budget, Bayrou is the 6th Prime Minister of Macron's mandate after last week's toppling of Barnier, who became France's shortest-serving prime minister and lasted only 3 months. In sports now, China jailed a former Premier League star and men's national coach Latay for 20 years for bribery, sparing one of the country's greatest football figures in the sweeping government crackdown on corruption in sports. President Xi Jinping has waged an unrelenting campaign against deep-seated official corruption since coming to power over a decade ago. Anti-graft authorities took aim at the sports industry in 2022 and have announced a stirring of convictions for former football administrators this week. Nigeria has been exempted from the first round of a qualifying series of the 2026 African Women's Cup of Nations, which will be hosted by Morocco for the third consecutive time. Nigeria is a record title holder of the championship, which was won by South Africa in 2022, and so the Super Falcons, alongside the other top 6 ranked African teams, South Africa, Morocco, Zambia, Ghana, Cameroon, and Cote d'Ivoire, have received a pass to the second round of the qualifiers. To end News Express tonight, here is a summary of our big stories. We brought to you that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has approved the appointment of Uwakuche Sylvester Ndidi as Acting Comptroller General of the Nigerian Correctional Service, following the retirement of Halilu Mbaba from the service. In business, the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission has announced its formal adoption of African Forum for Utility Regulators mini-grid tariff tool to ensure fair and efficient pricing. On the foreign scene, President Emmanuel Macron named centric leader François Bayrou as Prime Minister, handing him the daunting risk of hauling France oil of months of political crisis. And finally, in sports, Nigerians have been exempted from the first round of the qualifying series for the 2026 African Women's Cup of Nations, which will be hosted by Morocco for the 3rd consecutive time. And that's it on News Prime. And it came to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. A quick reminder that Global TV is on DSTV channel 365, on Star Times channel 276, and free to air on Nicomsat. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms now showing on your screen by using a Global TV NG. I am Jumai Manson. Thank you for watching.